Okay, so we're going to talk about power supply and how you may take a few protective actions. I am sure you appreciate the high dependence on electric power we have in our lives. You can't imagine a day without power, right? You probably can't imagine an hour without touching your cell phone. It has become a part of your life, a constant companion. It goes wherever you go.
This is not just a change in the way we communicate. This is a change to the way we live, how we run our homes, and how we run our offices. Nowadays, you can't even have an office or establishment without a computer.
That's true.
You can't imagine one without a server or a business or manufacturing unit that is not automated. Both computing and communication have become an essential part of our lives. These two rely heavily, or we could even say solely, on a power supply. Therefore, power failure is much more devastating to a business than it was 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's true. It is essential that you have a backup plan in case there is any disruption to these essential support services. You know, obviously you can't predict when you will be affected by storms or high winds or something like that. You may not know when a hardware failure will occur. You can't predict how lightning can hit you, right? The whole point of lightning. You may even be impacted by heavy rains and floods. Now, most of these will impact your power supply. A security personnel must be familiar with the threats to electric power and the corresponding countermeasures.
Yes. You can set up backup for power. There are different types of backups available to you. You need to decide what kind of backup you require and what features you require. The features obviously come at a cost, and we suggest you look at the past, especially if you are new to the business or area, to get the history of the area and its establishments. A history review is important before you decide on the strategy. You will learn the expected average number of hours of backup required in a year, at least roughly. And with all the information on hand, you can work on the costs of setup and the anticipated operational cost, meaning the total cost of ownership and total cost per hour of backup power.
And you also may have power fluctuations. The effects may manifest in the variations of voltage. These could last for a few milliseconds to several days, really. Now, a company can draw power from different supplies to reduce the risk of these fluctuations, but you can imagine this can be costly. So you can think of having generators or having uninterruptible power supplies or UPSs put in place. Generators normally have options to detect power failure and start automatically. Now, how much power a generator can give depends on the type and size of the generator. It could be for hours or days. UPSs are usually short-term solutions compared to generators.
We have talked about back power through the use of generators and UPSs. UPSs can be either constantly online or in standby mode. UPS systems use AC line voltage to charge a bank of batteries. The DC output from the batteries is converted into the required AC form and sent to the equipment. Normal power passes through online UPS systems, and the equipment draws power from UPS only. So they provide constant power regardless of whether the power supply is there or not. Online UPSs will be able to quickly determine if there is a power outage and supply power from its batteries much more quickly than a standby UPS.
Standby UPS devices stay inactive until a power line fails. When there is a power failure, the load is switched to the battery pack. There will be a small delay, greater than an online UPS, in switching to battery power. So an online UPS picks up the load much more quickly than a standby UPS, but as you can imagine, costs more. You will require backup power if an outage lasts longer than what a UPS can support. This is assuming, though, that you have a combination of long backup and short power backup through UPSs. This backup supply could be from another electrical substation or from a generator. The backup could be used to carry out normal operations or for charging the UPS.
A company should identify critical systems that need protection from interrupted power supplies. Based on the need, you can estimate the backup or UPS power capacity. Some UPSs provide enough power for devices to shut down normally. Some allow them to work for longer durations. You should be periodically testing to ensure the generators or the other backup sources are in working condition.
A superset of back power is protecting power. You have power line conditioners too. You need to be concerned about voltage fluctuations and interference. The possible types of interference include electromagnetic interference and radio frequency interference. These can cause disturbance to the flow of electric power when it travels across a power line. The disturbances could be things like power excess, a spike, in other words, a momentary high voltage, a surge or a prolonged high voltage, power loss fault or momentary power outage, a blackout, which you know is a prolonged complete loss of electric power, power degradation, a sag or a dip, meaning momentary low voltage condition from one cycle to a few seconds, a brownout, which is a prolonged power supply that is below normal voltage, or even an inrush current or an initial surge of current required to start a load.
As these issues are quite common, you will have to have mechanisms to detect them and protect the integrity of your data processing environment. Voltage regulators and aligned conditioners can be used to ensure a clean and smooth distribution of power. The primary power runs through a regulator or conditioner. They have the capability to absorb most of these fluctuations and send what is required. You will definitely have to employ surge protectors to protect from excessive current and initiate necessary steps depending on the situation. And you will have to employ a mechanism to monitor the power supply and to initiate any necessary control or corrective steps.